We will be continuing with Chapter 3 of the Social Studies. You hopefully watched my video from hunters and gatherers to farmers. And you'll recall that about 8,000 BCE in the Stone Age is where it changed from the Paleolithic age, which is the old Stone Age, and then at 8,000 BCE it went to the new Stone Age until about 3,000. And in 3,000 BCE we started getting metals and different things, and so the Stone Age ends. But it's at that 8,000 BCE that people learned how to create their own stable food supply. All right, so I'm going to read this page to you. It is page number 27 in your hardcover social studies book. And then I will, later in this video, I will do a page in the workbook. And this will show you how you're going to do the rest of the chapter. Okay? So I will read this page, and then we will do a workbook. And I expect you to do the workbook page with me as I do it through this video. So let's read this. You can follow along as I go. During the Paleolithic age, people obtained food by hunting animals and gathering plants. But hunting and gathering did not provide a very stable or dependable food supply. Wild plants and animals grew scarce when people stayed in one place for too long, and hunting was dangerous. Hunters were often injured or killed. Generally, people discovered they didn't have to depend on hunting and gathering. Instead of gathering wild plants, they could plant seeds and harvest crops. Over time, they learned which seeds produced the most crops in the areas where they lived. Early farmers also learned how to domesticate animals, raising and using them for their own purposes. They raised sheep, goats, and cattle for their meat. They got milk from both goats and cattle. They used mules to carry heavy loads and pull plows. Together, the growing of crops and the domestication of animals are called agriculture. The Neolithic age began with the invention of agriculture. For the first time, people had a stable food supply. Let's explore why this change was one of the most important advances in all of human history. Now, this is just completely critical. This is huge. Because if you're hunting and gathering and you kind of go to an area and you use all the berries and all the animals go away, you're out of food. And out of food means no living. So all of a sudden, with farming, now you're in control of your food supply. And I mean, the weather could affect it and different things, but you have more control than if you're going around looking for food. So 2 vocabulary words that you need to know. One is domesticate, and you can see in the book it says to train a wild animal to be useful to humans. So when they domesticated cattle and sheep, and now they're using them and controlling them for their food and to help them work and to help them farm. And then agriculture. Agriculture is just another word for the business of farming. So whenever you think of farming, and farming is raising and using animals, and it's raising and growing crops to cultivate the land, to plant seeds, and to harvest what you get. Okay, so stable food supply, critical, very important. And that was the change. That took it from an old age to a new age. It was that radical. So even though you're still within the Stone Age, when they're using stones for tools and different things, you move from the old Stone Age, where they were hunting and gathering to get food, to this new Stone Age, this Neolithic Stone Age, where they are now farming. Okay. All right, you're going to turn to page 18 in your softcover workbook. I'm pretty sure it's 18. It should look something like this. At the top, it should say Guide to Reading Notes 3, and then it says 3.3, Creating a Stable Food Supply. If that's not the correct page number, please look in your book, in your workbook, to go to chapter 3, and you should see a page that has something for section 3.3. All right, so we just read that section, and you listened to me read it. Now we got to ask some questions, or answer some questions. The highlighted ones are the ones that are blank in your book. So right here, there's a very important question, and it's about Paleolithic times. So what happened in the old Stone Age? The question is, how did they get their food supply in Paleolithic times? Well, they got it by hunting animals and gathering plants. Hunting and gathering. That's the Paleolithic age. And this whole idea is kind of comparing what was life like in the Paleolithic age and then what was life like in the Neolithic age. And you're seeing the difference. All right. So in the Paleolithic, it was hunting animals and gathering plants. And now here's another question. It says, what are 2 important facts about food supply in the Neolithic age? So now we've entered this new age where agriculture was invented. And so after what we read, there are a couple facts that we can put down that is the new way of getting their food. All right, so number 1, and this one's written for you. We learned that we could grow our own food by collecting and planting the seeds of plant. So this is the growing food aspect. So that was one of the facts. And the other fact is we learned to domesticate animals like sheep, goats, cattle, and mules. So this is the planting one, planting crops, and this is the controlling animals or domesticating animals. Those are 2 huge things that totally new ways of getting food in this Neolithic age of the Stone Age. Okay, now, so this is the what. The what, how'd they get food here? This is the what, how'd they get food in this Neolithic age? Now, here is the why. Why are these facts important? All right, and here is the key, right here. Learning to farm, growing our food, and raising animals gives us a stable food supply. And that is so important. I'm going to write it even bigger here. Stable food supply. So, before farming, there was not a stable food supply. Stable meaning dependable, like you're a little bit more in control of it. So the Paleolithic, you didn't have a stable food supply. So you could easily slip into a time where you didn't have enough food, where you couldn't find things to eat, which would increase the likelihood of starvation and not getting the proper nutrition and hard days. Then you learn to farm. Now, with the stable food supply, oh my gosh, tons can happen. And that's what the rest of this chapter is about. That once you have this stable food supply, now what can you do? And we will learn as we go forward in this chapter the many different things that happened because of a stable food supply. Just think, if you're hungry, how hard it is to do things. But once you're fed, once you're feeling full, then you can do all sorts of things, okay? So stable food supply, really important, and that's why these 2 facts are so important. Okay, good. So make sure you have this page filled out, and we will come back later and move into 3.4 and go forward from there.